Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 7 Part 5 based on novel. So let's start. Rich black chi was being continuously emitted from within the body of the Death Spirit General. At this moment, nearly half of his body had been crushed. If he was an ordinary person, it was likely that he would have died. However, he still had a remnant breath left, causing the situation to appear extremely strange. Although he still had a breath remaining, the Death Spirit General was clearly seriously wounded. Even his flickering eyes became unusually dim at this moment, and there was anger and panic vaguely flashing within his eyes. He had never expected that he would end up falling into such a state. After all, his strength could be considered to be amongst the top even amongst those super empires and would not be inferior to them. Moreover, his original powerful 5-yuan Nirvana stage strength was also sufficient to allow him to reach the true top-tier position within this core zone. Additionally, his training method was strange. Even those top-level experts who had similarly stepped into the 5-yuan Nirvana stage would definitely not be able to force him until such an extent, even if they could defeat him, much less beat up this unique dead body until such an extent. You are definitely not someone who comes from a mere low-ranked empire. The Death Spirit General roared. Although he was not aware of Little Martin's origin, he was certain that Little Martin, who possessed these various terrifying techniques, was definitely not from a simple low-rank empire. No matter what kind of unique or special encounter a person had, it would be impossible for this person to force him into such a state. Little Martin's eyes were indifferent as he looked at the roaring Death Spirit General. He ignored the latter as he extended his long hand. Threads of purple-black energy that caused one's head to feel numb swiftly gathered together. There was a faint killing aura spreading apart. I have already told you that we are not interested in your schemes. Yet, you still choose to pester us. In that case, I can only kill all of you. The expression in the eyes of the Death Spirit General changed when he heard Little Martin's voice, which was so calm that it was devoid of ripples. He laughed in a densely cold manner. You are really too naive. You can only blame yourselves for being unlucky enough to learn of our plans. Since you have gotten involved in this matter, we will definitely not let you off unless you commit suicide. We are not interested in dying. However, we do have quite a lot of interest in finishing you off. Little Martin parted his mouth and smiled. His eyes instantly turned icy cold and he ceased giving the Death Spirit General any additional chance to speak. Little Martin flipped his hands and a purple-black light swept out. It transformed into a purple-black light spear that tore through the sky with lightning-like speed. After which, it smashed onto the Death Spirit General's crushed body with a lightning-like speed. Bang! The ground immediately began to tremble and formed numerous large crack lines as the wild and violent ripple swept apart from the light spear. Within the blink of an eye, it had covered the area within 1,000 feet radius. The destructive force was quite powerful. That fellow. Is he finished? Lin Dong rushed towards Little Martin's side, looked down at the ground that had been blasted apart and softly inquired. Lin Dong was able to sense the power of the Death Spirit General when Little Martin was fighting with the latter. That fluctuation was much stronger than Feng Kang and the rest. In fact, that fellow might have already advanced into 5-yuan Nirvana stage and he could be considered top tier even amongst the entire core region. If it was not because Little Martin had fought this time around, even Lin Dong would have difficulty finishing off this Death Spirit General. Regardless, currently, Lin Dong's yuan power cultivation was merely at the 3-yuan Nirvana stage. Even though he was able to kill a 4-yuan Nirvana stage expert like Feng Kang using various tactics, he was unable to kill a 5-yuan Nirvana stage expert like the Death Spirit General. Little Flame followed closely behind. His hand was holding onto his metal rod tightly as both of his eyes looked below him with a fierceness surging within it. He was also able to sense how powerful the Death Spirit General was. Little Martin's eyes stared intently at the area below. A moment later, both of his eyes somnolated. Just when Little Martin's eyes focused, the crumbled land below suddenly exploded apart. Permeating black light spat out before sweeping towards all directions. It's not so easy to kill me. Lin Dong, since your group has killed the Liu Cheng duo, There is now a deep grudge between us. Just you wait. Very soon, all of you will regret getting involved in this. Ha ha, at that time, all you geniuses from this Eastern Xian region will end up as slaves. The black light scattered and fled while a dense and stern voice was emitted from within it. This voice lingered beside the ears of Lin Dong's group. Lin Dong's expression changed slightly as he looked at this black light that permeated the sky. This Death Spirit General was incomparably mysterious. He actually still possessed such a unique move, despite being wounded till such an extent. Mental energy swept out from Lin Dong Niwan place as he attempted to find the existence of the Death Spirit General from within the black light that permeated the sky. However, in the end, he failed to do so. Humph! The eyes of little Martin by the side suddenly became as sharp as an eagle while Lin Dong was frowning over this matter. He suddenly extended his hand and a purple-black light smashed onto a swiftly fleeing black light with lightning-like speed. Bang! The light force smashed onto the black light. A low and deep sound was immediately erupted. After which, the sharp miserable cry of the Death Spirit General was also emitted. Finally, the black light swelled. Within a few flashes, it managed to flee from the forest and vanish into the darkness. This fellow is merely at the 5 Yuan Nirvana stage, but he possesses a wisp of Yuan spirit. Looks like he does have some background. Little Martin looked at the fleeing black light, knitted his eyebrows and softly said, "Oh." Lin Dong's expression changed a little upon hearing this. Normally, one would at least have to undergo 7 Nirvana tribulation before a wisp of Yuan spirit would be born within one's body. At that time, one would have the chance to survive even if one's physical body was destroyed. It was unexpected that this Death Spirit General was able to accomplish such a feat despite being a 5 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. However, his wisp of Yuan spirit is a little strange. It does not appear to be formed naturally. Instead, some other method was used, little Martin said. Now that he has fled, it is likely that there will be quite a great deal of trouble in the future. Lin Dong said. He destroyed his own physical body and fled as a Yuan spirit. If I use the energy within my actual body, I can capture it. However, I am afraid that those super sects will sense my presence. Little Martin shook his head and said. However, you need not worry. His physical body has been destroyed and that wisp of Yuan spirit is incomparably weak. It will not be an easy matter for him to recover his strength again. Little Martin turned his head and looked at Lin Dong. A surprise flashed across his eyes as he said, "Your body." At this moment, there was a powerful Yuan power ripple surging around Lin Dong's body. Clearly, his injuries had been completely healed. Moreover, that ripple was a lot stronger when compared to before. Of course, the thing that truly shocked little Martin was that he could see traces of unique green-colored glow lingering over the surface of Lin Dong's body. These glows shuttled through the light around the pores of his body. It vaguely formed pieces of green scales that appeared and disappeared over his skin. Although the usage of the heavenly dragon aura this time around placed a tremendous burden on my body, it has also benefited me greatly. Now, the rate at which my physical body is absorbing the dragon aura has increased significantly. Moreover, that green heaven materialized dragon skill has also advanced to the second stage, green dragon scale. Lin Dong smiled and he was unable to contain his excitement. The first stage of the green heaven materialized dragon skill was the green dragon skin. That powerful defense was even stronger than the golden body of a 4 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. That powerful defense was also one of the key reasons why Lin Dong was able to defeat Feng Kang. Now, this second stage, Green Dragon Skin, was even more powerful. Not only did it possess a great offensive strength, but its defense strength was likely comparable to some 5 Yuan Nirvana stage experts. If Lin Dong had mastered the Green Heaven materialized dragon skill till this stage when he had fought with Feng Kang, the result of the fight would definitely not be a painful victory, even if the latter had a powerful weapon like the Heavenly Soul Treasure. Looks like you have gained quite a lot from this big battle. Little Martin smiled. He was able to sense that the Yuan power within Lin Dong's body had also reached the peak of the 3 Yuan Nirvana stage. It was likely that Lin Dong would be able to attempt the 4th Nirvana tribulation very soon. Moreover, with the great strength of the green heaven materialized dragon skill, it was likely that those Nirvana stage opponents that an ordinary person was terrified of would not pose much problems to Lin Dong. Standing beside him, the surroundings of Little Flame's body had a real substance-like surging energy fluctuation. Clearly, he had signs of a breakthrough. For Little Flame, which possessed a rare mutated constitution and a genuine heavenly demon dragon tribe's bloodline, his training progress far surpassed that of most ordinary people. Although this battle was intense, the benefits that Lin Dong and Little Flame had obtained from it was tremendous. Let's go. It's time to get moving. Lin Dong stretched his lazy waist. Currently, he had completely recovered from his injuries. Next, it was time for him to truly embark into the core zone. It was likely that the place was already filled with many powerful individuals. Perhaps there were already quite a number of them which were currently quietly searching for them, with the intention of snatching their Nirvana seals. However, this thought also existed within Lin Dong's heart. It was finally time to confirm the result of their bitter one-year training within the ancient battlefield. Whether they would return miserably to their own empires or catch the attention of a super sect in a dazzling manner, would be determined by their subsequent performance. The sound of rushing wind was heard as a couple of figures flitted past the thick forest, their agile bodies like monkeys. The complicated terrain within the forest was no hindrance to them at all. Brother Lin Dong, all the competitors who have entered this core region should be heading towards the 100 Empire Mountain, which is the most central location in this place. Not only is it the most central location, it should also be the final competition venue. A figure gently pressed his toes on a tree branch, catching up to another figure in front as he uttered. The figure at the front turned his head when he heard this, revealing a familiar face. This person was Lin Dong. Lin Dong's group did not delay after resolving the trouble that Liu Cheng's group had brought. Instead, they immediately set off. After all, the 100 Empire War had already begun and it would be a pity if they were to miss it. The 100 Empire Mountain, huh? Lin Dong slightly nodded. Clearly, he had also heard of this final area. It was the final gathering point of the countless number of experts in this ancient battlefield domain. Of course, all who could reach the place were genuine experts who stood out within this ancient battlefield. Only these people possessed the qualification to eventually be selected by the super sects. Ha ha, Brother Lin Dong, with your group's current strength, even some of the ordinary super empires would not dare to offend you. I think that you will definitely be able to catch the eye of those super sects. Sukue's tone was not without envy. He clearly understood that his talent was quite good, but there was still quite a big gap when compared to Lin Dong's group. If it were not for Lin Dong's group, it was likely that he would not have reached this point. The only thing that caused him to rejoice a little was that his only younger sister now possessed such a great opportunity. In this way, his trip would not be in vain if she was selected in the end. Relax, as long as those super sects discover the energy within Suru's body, they will definitely select her. At that time, they would also show their favor to those around her. You cannot escape even if you want to. Little Martin teased. Then I will become their losing investment, Tsukue rejoiced. His self-mocking words made Lin Dong's group laugh. However, Brother Lin Dong, even the super empires are divided into stronger and weaker ones. Amongst them are some exceptionally monstrous existences. We should be careful if we meet those empires in future. Tsukue once again reminded after joking. Lin Dong nodded. He would naturally not be arrogant just because he had defeated the Wind Cloud Empire. He was similarly aware that despite the Wind Cloud Empire being a super empire, it could not be considered top tier amongst the countless empires in the Eastern Xian region. From what he knew, there were some exceptionally special super empires whose strength exceeded the realm of empires. Although they were still unable to compare with those extremely powerful super sects, they were far from what an ordinary super empire could compare to. The monsters and geniuses from those super empires were incomparably troublesome to deal with. All of them were truly blessed sons of the heavens. The martial arts and soul treasures they had were the best of the best. With such resources, talent and intellect, none of these monsters would be easy to deal with. Brother Tsukue, do you know how powerful the Great Gan Empire is? Lin Dong suddenly recalled the fire general and the mountain general who had once exchanged blows with him. They had come from the Great Gan Empire. The Great Gan Empire, huh? They are indeed very strong. At the very least, they are one level stronger than the Wind Cloud Empire. Their 3 kings and 4 generals are all quite well known. Sukue was startled for a moment before replying. Oh, they are a level stronger than the Wind Cloud Empire. Lin Dong was a little surprised. Back then, the Fire General and Mountain General were not too troublesome to deal with. Their strength was only at the peak of the 3 Yuan Nirvana stage. It was unexpected that the Great Gan Empire was so much stronger than the Wind Cloud Empire. From the looks of it, the so-called 3 kings should be existences that surpass Feng Kang. Who knew how many of them had advanced to the 5 Yuan Nirvana stage? They are indeed a little troublesome, Lin Dong softly muttered to himself. He might not have a great grudge with the Great Gan Empire, but now that he was in the core region, everyone was a competitor. No one could be certain they would be attacked because of their 3 heavenly grade Nirvana seal. Why? Does brother Lin Dong have some grudge with them? Sukue softly asked after seeing Lin Dong's expression. We had a small disagreement. Lin Dong smiled, not bothering to hide anything. Sukue's expression sunk upon hearing this. He immediately smiled bitterly and shook his head. After getting to know Lin Dong's group, he gradually began to realize that trouble would follow these people no matter where they went. Just moments ago, they had been targeted by a group of mysterious and troublesome people when they were recuperating. However, he did not feel any regret. After all, if it were not for Lin Dong's group, both Su Ru and him would likely have difficulty even entering Wanxiang City. Moreover, these 3 seemed to be able to resolve any trouble they encountered. Occasionally, even Sukue could not help but feel a little anticipation as he watched just how far these 3 low-rank Empire fellows could go in the 100 Empire War, where experts were as numerous as the clouds. Let's go. We'll increase our speed. We have fallen behind by a day and we need to catch up by morning. Lin Dong was unaware of what Sukue was thinking. He raised his head to look at the sky before waving his hand. His body moved as he suddenly raised his speed. That body of his transformed into a flash that rushed towards the deeper regions of the forest. Little Flame and the others followed closely behind. Through the entire night, Lin Dong's group had hurried towards the central region without rest. Other than some small detours, no other unexpected situations had arisen to hinder their advancement. Hence, when the dark black sky once again became dark red in color, Lin Dong's group was already vaguely able to sense an increasingly number of presences around. There were at least over a dozen super cities within the core region. Amongst these cities, there were those that were even larger than Wanxiang City. The human traffic that had entered from these cities would also gradually move deeper and gather together. Due to the unique competition method in this place, some cruel struggles would also gradually appear. In order to snatch others' Nirvana seals, it was likely that various methods would be continuously displayed. Lin Dong's group paused on a gigantic tree. Their eyes swept over the place as quite a number of dispirited faces and somewhat miserable figures entered their view. Most of these people were pale-faced and there was a grayish-white despair within their eyes. The people who had lost their Nirvana seals. Sukue watched this and said. However, there was no pity in his voice. In a place like this, there was no mercy, only victory. They are really pitiful. Although Suru's character had changed a little, she was after all still a kind young lady. She bit her lips gently and uttered those words when she saw this scene. The victor is king. This is a principle that has never changed since ancient times. Lin Dong softly said. This was the rule of this place, and even they were no exception to it. Even he did not dare to guarantee that he would successfully reach the end and no extremely troublesome opponents would appear next and cause him to lose his Nirvana seal. Suru gently bit her lips. She might be kind by nature but she was no fool. Therefore, she would not say those laughable words of asking Lin Dong to help these people. She clearly understood that if she had not met Lin Dong's group, Sukue and her might not even possess the qualifications to enter the core region. It was likely that their fate would be even more pitiful than this group. Go? Lin Dong did not plan to remain in this place for long. He waved his hand and rushed forward. The sound of wind being split apart caused the pale-faced people to look over. However, they did not show any additional emotion. Due to them having gradually caught up to the large group that had swarmed over from all the various great cities, the surrounding atmosphere had also become increasingly heavier. Various fights were enacted in front of them. In a short few minutes, Lin Dong had saw nearly 10 battles. Both sides had fought to the death because of the Nirvana seals. This kind of atmosphere faintly showed signs of making everyone go insane. Brother Lin Dong. There is a resting area ahead. This kind of place is extremely chaotic. After all the experts within the ancient battlefields are currently gathering towards the core region. It is not surprising to meet any monsters. The surrounding dense forest began to become sparse as Sukuei looked into the distance and said, "Let's just bypass it." Lin Dong mused for a moment before saying. He did not wish to waste too much time in this place. Although they really needed to absorb Nirvana seals to raise their level, it was likely that they would have even more opportunities later on. Sukuei also nodded upon hearing this. However, just as they were gradually approaching the resting area, Lin Dong suddenly slowed down. "Brother Lin Dong? What is it?" Sukuei asked in a surprised manner. He was startled upon seeing Lin Dong suddenly slow down. Lin Dong raised his head and looked at the forest of scattered stone fragments nearby. There were many silhouettes around that place, causing it to appear extremely lively. Occasionally, there would be some wild and violent yuan power ripples unfurling. Clearly, it was not peaceful at all. There are some familiar auras there. Lin Dong stared at that place before suddenly speaking with a smile. There was an extremely wide plot of land littered with rock fragments within the forest. Giant trees that reached into the sky surrounded the place. One could vaguely see many people within that vacant space and also hear sounds of activity being continuously emitted from within. Upon taking a closer look, one would see a wide green ancient stone square. Currently, there were many figures clustered on the square. "Don't go overboard. We have already given you a Nirvana seal. What else do you want? We are not interested in this kind of duel." One could faintly hear a furious voice from the square. When the surrounding onlookers heard these words, they quietly sighed as a pitying and bitter smile flashed across their eyes. Past the surrounding crowd, one would see two groups facing off at the center of the wide square. One of the groups consisted of 3 people whose faces were rather familiar. Upon closer inspection, one would be surprised to find that they were the Mo Ling trio, who had obtained the inheritance of the Protector sect. The 3 of them had left the ancient hall in advance after having exited the ancient treasure trove back then. In the end, they had entered the core region from another great city and hence had not met Lin Dong till now. The Mo Ling trio's strength had greatly soared to the 3 Yuan Nirvana stage due to the inheritance they received. Although this kind of strength was not considered overly strong within the core region, it was still quite good. At the very least, if they were not bestowed such a lucky opportunity, they would likely not even possess the qualifications to enter this place. Opposite Mo Ling's group were a couple of black-clothed figures. Their gazes were full of mockery as they stared at the furious trio like a cat toying with a mouse. "Mo Ling, we are already extremely merciful not to directly rob your group of everything without even uttering a word. Moreover, we have even given your group a chance to retaliate. As long as you can defeat us, not only will you be able to keep your Nirvana seal, but you will also be able to take the Nirvana seal from our hands. Where else can you find such a good deal?" A black-clothed man, who was the leader of that black-clothed group, smilingly said. "We do not wish to fight you." Mo Ling spoke with a deep voice. His eyes looked towards a large tree that was behind this group of people. These people did not show any intention of intervening with the trouble here. Their eyes were shut and the terrifying ripple which they vaguely emitted deterred everyone in the wide square. These people belonged to the same empire. Moreover, it was an extremely powerful super empire. Mo Ling had a good understanding of them. This was because they had all entered this core region from the same great city. The reason that these fellows would target them was because they had some small conflict earlier. Originally, Mo Ling was worried that they would seek revenge and had purposefully reduced their speed a little. Unexpectedly, they still wounded up meeting here. Although Mo Ling's group had obtained some inheritance, they were clearly unable to compare with these super empires with a strong foundation. Therefore, Mo Ling's group had chosen to give in when the other party acted in an overbearing manner. Originally, they had planned to rest a little when they had arrived at this place earlier. It was unexpected that they ended up coincidentally meeting these fellows. After which, this other party had found an excuse to head over here. Putting it nicely, their intention was to spar. However, the ultimate aim of this group was the Nirvana seal in their hands. Mo Ling's group was unable to fight against this kind of powerful faction. After careful consideration, they could only get Man Shan to accept the challenge. In the end, he had lost to the other party because of some despicable tactics. Du Yun's and Man Shan's faces were green as they stood beside Mo Ling. Clearly, their hearts were feeling quite furious. There were clearly quite a number of people observing from around the wide square. However, not a single person dare say too much. Their eyes were filled with pity and gloating expressions as they looked at Mo Ling's group. All of them knew that this group of black-clothed men in front of them belonged to the Great Wei Empire, a super empire. This group was worthy of being the overlord in this resting area and no one dared offend them. One could only describe Mo Ling's group to be a little too unlucky to have been targeted by them. Mo Ling, why do you need to say such childish words? What can you do if we directly snatch your Nirvana seals in this place? That black-clothed man smiled faintly. His tone was filled with scorn. On account that you have also come in from the same great city, I shall give you a choice. Take the initiative and hand over a Nirvana seal and we will let you leave. Else, we will attack and snatch all of it. What do you say? Mo Ling's fist immediately tightened when he heard the words of this black-clothed man. Du Yun and Man Shan by the side felt a great fury within them. Their faces turned cold and they involuntarily wanted to attack. However, they were stopped by Mo Ling again. Damn it, let's just fight. Man Shan gritted his teeth and said. Useless. Mo Ling gently shook his head. His eyes leaped past the black-clothed man in front and looked towards the group of people seated under the large tree a short distance away. Those people were the truly top-tier individuals with extraordinary abilities. If they were to intervene, the chances of Mo Ling's group victory would be zero. Du Yun's and Man Shan's also looked over. Their faces immediately became dim. They were able to see some of the extremely dazzling figures within the great heavy city called Great Winding City. When they looked over, there was a black-clothed cold-faced young man under the large tree who was glancing at them indifferently. His eyes did not contain the slightest pity. He was merely looking down at them with disdain. If you want Nirvana seal, we will give it to you. Mo Ling's expression changed. Finally, he shook his head in a slumped manner. He directly walked forward and extended his hand. A silver-colored Nirvana seal was on his palm. This is called understanding the situation. That black-clothed man smiled in a pleased manner. He extended his hand and unceremoniously absorbed the Nirvana seal in Mo Ling's hand. After which, he waved his hand and lazily said, "Get lost. Do not appear in front of the eyes of our Great Wei Empire in the future. Otherwise, you will not even be able to protect the last Nirvana seal. A group of losers from a low-ranked empire." Mo Ling clenched his fist tightly. His fingernails were inserted into his palm, emitting waves of piercing pain. He knew that this was the difference brought about due to the great foundation the other party had. If it was not because of the super empire sitting behind these fellows in front of them, Mo Ling would definitely let them pay the price. Unfortunately, they did not possess such a strong background. Go? The expression in Mo Ling's eyes dimmed slightly. He did not say anything more as he led the dispirited Du Yun and Man Shan to leave amidst the numerous pitiful eyes from around him. When they had turned around, the surrounding people also spread apart and formed a path for them. All of these people quietly shook their heads as they watched Mo Ling's group, who were just like dogs which had lost their homes. Ha ha! The few people from the Great Wei Empire involuntarily laughed in a proud manner when they saw this situation. Their laughter was filled with arrogance and joy. This caused quite a number of people to frown slightly upon seeing this. However, no one dared to say anything. That cold-faced black-clothed young man under the large tree curled his mouth slightly. He was just about to speak when his eyes suddenly scintillated. He suddenly turned towards another direction of the empty spot within the forest. An empty part was slowly being spread from within the human crowd as Mo Ling trio swiftly walked out with ugly faces. However, Mo Ling, who was right at the front, suddenly paused. Duyun and Man Shan, who were behind, were unable to stop in time and collided onto his back. Only then did they recover. They raised their heads. Those eyes of theirs looked towards the front and their expressions suddenly changed. It was as though they felt a little ashamed. The crowd's gazes followed theirs and looked over, only to find that a couple of figures were standing at the end of the path that had been formed. The leader of that group was a leisurely-looking young man. There were 3 men and 1 woman following behind him. Their eyes were also staring at Mo Ling trio. The group of people that had suddenly appeared was naturally Lin Dong's group, which had hurried over. He had saw the situation earlier but did not say anything. All he did was to stare at Mo Ling's group. What happened? Lin Dong curled his mouth slightly and softly asked. Mo Ling's expression changed a little. He quickly walked forward and revealed a smile on his face. He said, "We are actually able to meet you here. How coincidental." "It's nothing. Let's go." Duyun and Man Shan widened their mouths behind Mo Ling but ultimately did not say anything. Lin Dong had already helped them many times. If they needed the latter to stand up for them all the time, they would really be living without any dignity. Moreover, that great Wei Empire was simply too strong and they did not wish to implicate Lin Dong. After all, this time around, the empire that they met was no longer some high-ranked empire. Instead, it was a genuine super-empire. Eh? Reinforcement? The black-clothed man on the wide square parted his mouth into a smile and laughed out loud when he saw this. Those people around also stared over at this point. They felt quite a great amount of interest. "Why aren't you fighting? I think that you should be able to deal with this kind of character." Lin Dong ignored that enigmatic manner of that fellow. All he did was to look at Mo Ling in front of him and asked faintly. Behind them is a super empire." Mo Ling clenched his fist tightly. His voice was a little hoarse when he spoke. He thought that he might be looked down upon by Lin Dong at this moment. This was because he had never seen Lin Dong afraid of anyone ever since he got to know the latter. Lin Dong had not felt any fear even when they had just entered this ancient realm. Lin Dong looked at Mo Ling, whose eyes had turned red from having suppressed himself. He merely laughed softly and patted the latter's shoulder. After which, his gaze leaped past the wide square and looked towards the group of people with shocking aura under the large tree. "I will support all of you no matter what happens today. Do you dare to go and snatch the Nirvana seal that you have lost?" Mo Ling was startled upon hearing the soft voice that sounded beside his ear. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the smiling young man. Both of his eyes instantly turned red. After which, he began to nod his head violently in a crazy fashion. "You are the boss, we'll listen to you." This video will end here.